Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Hi guys, Todd Helms here with another episode of Eastman's Wingmen podcast. And today I have special guest Mathew Cagle from Rig'em. Mathew is the founder and owner, CEO of Rig'em. Have I got that right, Mathew?
You got it.
Man, thanks for being on that.
Forklift driver, truck unloader, pro staff manager. We do it all around here.
Do it all. Yes, sir. No, that's cool. That's cool. Small business, getting it done every single day. You do what you got to do. I appreciate you being on, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So you're down in North Carolina, right?
That's right. Right on the coast.
Right on the coast. In fact, you had said right before we got on that you'd been surfing all morning long.
Yeah, this time of year is, fall's kicking in and everybody's talking about bird hunting, but this is also hurricane season. And so we get a lot of storms out in the Atlantic, and when the surf is really good this time of year. So this morning, a couple buddies and I charged it at first light and surfed for a few hours and came to work. So it was fun.
That sounds awesome, man. Good for you. Way to get it done before work. I tell you what, that's cool. That's not something we can do here in Wyoming. Not even remotely close.
No, but you can snow ski though. Good snow skiing.
Yeah, that we can. But yeah, I think we get enough wind to probably surf, but we just don't have enough water to pull it off.
That's right. No, I hear. Yeah, my daughter spent the summer out in Wyoming, and she's talking about. She said it's just as windy out there as it is at home. So it's pretty windy where we live on the coast, but she was surprised it was blue every day out there. Where
was she?
So she was in Casper.
Yeah. Oh, Casper is one of the windiest parts of the state.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of funny, when the wind stops blowing in Casper, people fall over.
That's a good one.
Oh goodness.
She's in college in animal science program. She's going to go into vet school, so she was out there getting some large animal experience and worked for a vet and did some brandings and just kind of getting some of that those ag hours and large animal hours under her belt. So when she gets ready to apply for vet school, she got that dialed in. She loved it. Said it was beautiful out there. So
well, good. Yeah, that's good for her. That's really cool that she took the bull by the horns, as so to speak, and came so far from home and got some stuff done. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty good place to duck hunt in its own right too. The North Platte River goes through Casper, and that's definitely one of the places in Wyoming that is a pretty good spot for waterfowl. Lots of geese and ducks hang out down there and spend a lot of winter on that river. That's kind of what we face. That's kind of what we face out here is we don't have a lot of resident birds, but we get a lot of birds that winter on the river systems. So
wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So Rig'em, man, how did you come up with the brainchild? How did you come up with that idea for your company? I mean, you guys make a ton of awesome products. Like I said, everything from dog vests to blind bags, gun cases. Your decoy rigging is probably what I became familiar with years ago. And man alive, you guys have just seemed like you expand every single year. But how did you get started in that?
Yeah, so I guess my background is just I'm a civil engineering major, so I've always just kind of had that mind for designing stuff, and worked in construction, always just thinking about ways to make things better. And whenever I saw a little gadget that I thought could be improved, I kind of tinkered around in the shop, and we just launched with the decoy anchors and jerk rigs and some other rigging stuff. And it was intentional, but it was also kind of accidental that we got to where we're at. I mean, we had some ideas. I kind of floated out there, and the decoy anchors kind of stuck, and we met the duck commander. They were just a big help for us when we got started. just getting that kind of instant recognition and credibility from such a big name back then. And,
Sure.
you know, they really helped us. I mean, pick up the phone and make a call to a buyer and say, hey, this guy's got something you need to take a look at, you know. And when Phil Robertson calls, or, you know, Jace Robertson calls, or Willie Robertson calls, people listen. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, we went from having basically a little local store that carried our rigging stuff, and then we got another bigger account, and then it was like instantly we were kind of everywhere. We just scaled up real fast and got in, you know, Cabela's and Bass Pro and Gander Mountain and Sportsman's Warehouse real quick. So it was quite a ride there for a while. But then, you know, and we've just kept adding products, and we got into the soft good stuff just because there wasn't a decoy bag that worked with our decoy rigs. So we designed a decoy bag that works with our decoy rigs. And I was like, well, shoot, you know, I'm kind of figuring out this cut and sew business, and we started adding soft goods and just snowballed. So here we are.
Oh, good for you. That's incredible how things, like you said, snowball. That's incredible how one thing leads to another. And yeah, you guys, it seemed like kind of, I want overnight success is not probably the correct term, but you guys definitely rode a tidal wave. Getting back to your surfing analogy, you rode a big wave, you know, into the space and kind of shook things up. Like I said, I've been running those rigs since way before we started. I've been running your decoy rigs since way before we started Wingmen, and just kind of added to what I have here and there. And honestly, what you said about your decoy bag, I bought one of the Tanker XLs quite a while ago, because so much of what we do is there's snow on the ground and we're hauling stuff in and out with us every single day. And I needed to be able to haul 24 decoys that were Texas rigged with you know, your rigs. But I had no good way of doing it, you know, carrying them on your back. They were too heavy to carry very far, you know, in steep up and down terrain through brush. And I ended up, we use sleds a lot, big, heavy duty plastic sleds a lot out here. And that one of your Tanker XL fits my extra large jet sled like it was made for it. I mean, it fits right in that sled, and I just dump stuff in it, close it if I can. If not, I'll throw a bungee or two over the top and go.
Yeah. That's a great bag. I mean, that was the one, you know, that was the one. I sat there and I was like, well, shoot, this is how it needs to work. And just came up with a design. And of course we tweaked it and modified it, and, you know, but we've got 3 sort of variations of that now. A small one, and then you know, the Tanker, and the long haul, which is kind of, it's got the backpack straps and waist belt and all that. So
I've used that extensively too. There's some places that we go that you're not going to take a sled, you know, or for whatever reason, the terrain is too up and down. It's too steep. You know, you might be able to lower a sled down into some place, but pulling it up out of there loaded with decoys you need a winch to get it up out of there. Some of the stuff we hunt, and you're just not going to do it. So that other one works, man, just awesome. But
well, thank you.
That's cool to hear. Kind of, you know, I guess necessity is the mother of all invention, you know, and you can looking at stuff from an engineering background and how can I make things better? How can I do this different? And I think you could see that with your stuff. Like I said, so much of it is just designed right, and it works. And I appreciate that about what you guys do. But how does Mathew Cagle get into duck hunting in the first place, into waterfowling and hunting in the first place? So I'm looking around, and you got a mule deer mount in the background, you got turkey fans on the wall, and I mean, you don't just talk the talk. You're obviously, look at that bull elk right there. I love it. I love it.
That's not my big one though. The big one's on the wall at the house.
There you go. There you go. I love it.
Luckily, don't tell my wife. I don't want her to know.
Secret safe here, man. I mean, how'd you get into hunting? Is it something you've done your whole life? Did your dad get you into it? I mean, what's your story?
So interestingly, my dad does not hunt. my grandfather, my mother's father, was just an absolutely avid outdoorsman, trapper, fisherman, did it all. And I mean, he made knives, he tinkered with guns. He was just an absolute all-round, just woodsman, outdoorsman, everything, ducks, turkey, deer, squirrels, everything. So he got me into hunting. My dad's not he's an outdoorsman, but when he's outside, he's turning wrenches. He's working on cars. He's he can outwork me today, and he's 77 years old. So don't misunderstand me when I say he's not a hunter. He just wasn't what he did.
Sure.
But I give him so much credit for rig 'em right, because everybody gets a kick out of this one. Because the fact that he wasn't a hunter, he didn't get why you need to go spend a bunch of money on all this stuff. Like, what's wrong with that spark plug right there? And they've got some kite string over in the corner and tied up with a spark plug, and those are my decoy anchors, and they were horrible. And why you need a blind bag? We got this old duffel bag over there. And I was like, well, this it's like lime green. It's not like dark green.
Right.
We had to use. I mean, boots were terrible. I mean, I used a lot of my granddad's old hand-me-down stuff. I mean, and my dad's solution to having boots that weren't waterproof was to, slide a bread bag over your foot, which you just sweat like crazy and your feet freeze off. So my dad really helped me, like, really crave good quality gear. And so, because we just didn't have it when I was a kid. So I started, when I turned 16, it was like I was always hunting, fishing all the time. I got my license, and it was like, I'm going hunting. But, during those high school days, my gear was pretty rough. I mean, really rough. So.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. I love to hear people's stories when they talk about, how they got into it. And there's always there's somebody that took them out, like your grandpa took you out. But the fact that you give your dad so much credit for that in kind of a backhanded way, it's just hilarious. I mean, my grandfather was that way. It was like, what do you mean you don't need that? Here, just use this. And same thing, the bread baggies and the boots and duct tape on waders, and I mean, you name it. So you're just jonesing for good gear by the time you can either have the wherewithal and the ability to make your own, or buy stuff that is good. You're like, oh, thank God. I think about some of the stuff we wear, like the Sitka stuff and your equipment and stuff just works. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about it. It just works.
Right.
And I think, man, I remember so many days struggling with stuff and bags. I mean, how many mesh decoy bags did I throw a bunch of goose decoys in, throw them over my shoulder, and the straps ripped off.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right out of the box, and it's like, this thing's brand new. So frustrating. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so to have a decoy bag like the Tanker XL or some of the Gunslinger that you guys have, I mean, they just work. I just throw stuff in them and go, and I don't have to think about them. And I'm on my third season for that Bloodline Elite dog vest.
Oh, good. Yeah.
My dog is not easy on stuff, and I've done a little bit of stitching here and there. Well, my wife's done a little bit of stitching in the middle of the season. You have something that needs some repair, but that just happens. But man, 3 seasons out of a dog vest I've never had that before.
Yeah, dog vests take a beating. I mean, I don't care what you do, they're just going to take a beating. I mean, when you cross a barbed wire fence in your Sitka Hudson jacket, you're going to be real careful when you get climbing through there, But the dog, he's not thinking, whoa, I got my nice dog vest on. I'm going to take this slow and easy. He's just charging it, So they just take a beating. And I don't care. The problem with dog vests is they have to be flexible. And
right.
You can't, you could make something so rigid and tough and durable, out of Kevlar that's not going to tear, but the dog can't breathe. It's not going to be flexible.
Right.
So we've tried to find some material that's durable and flexible and warm, and it's just it's not going to fit tight against the dog like it needs to, sleek and stuff. It's just a tough product. I mean, it just kind of is what it is right now. So
yeah, and that's funny you say that. It being a tough product, you know, I've had lots of different vests throughout the years, and some of them lasted longer than others, you know, whatever. But like you said, it never seems like there's that perfect one size fits every dog just right. Your vest happens to fit the dog I have now like it was made for him. You know, it's the way the vest is cut and the way he's built, perfect.
All right.
Other vests don't fit him that way, you know, and it's just funny how, like you said, it's trying to find that balance. My thing is with that dog vest, with those dog vests is, man, imagine what your dog's skin looks like without a dog vest.
Yeah.
If he tears that dog vest up to that point, imagine what his skin underneath all that hair looks like.
Oh yeah.
You know?
We've had people call in and say, "Hey, this vest saved my dog." You
right.
know, big old gouge right through the chest or something where they jumped off of, you know, into some cypress knees or something, and you know, could have really been hurt bad. So.
Yeah. Well, and we use so many times for us out here, we're hunting late in the year, you know, January, February, the water is the only reason it's not frozen is because it's moving.
Right.
You know, and so we're hunting extremely cold temps and with nasty brush. We have this thing called Russian olives out here that thorns are, you know, 2-3 inches long, and they're just hard on a dog and in and out of the water. So those vests are like, they're just lifesavers. They keep the dog warm. They give them an little bit of extra flotation, and they keep those thorns and barbed wire and, like you said, all that other stuff off of their hides. And I just can't imagine the extra miles and well, probably the extra years that the dog vest ends up giving your dog in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I mean, back to what we were talking about earlier about being so windy in Wyoming. You know, you couple that with the cold and the wet and then the wind. I mean, that's just, the wind's brutal on a dog. I mean, absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, vest is a key piece of equipment for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And we did a blog. I wrote a blog on that particular vest. I don't know, a year ago, something like that. And that's a pretty popular one for us. So we'll make sure that you check that one out over there at wingmen.us, and you can get a more of an in-depth look at that. But so what do you have? I've seen some stir around some new stuff you guys have got coming out. One of the things that guys are talking about is that bucket caddy.
Oh yeah.
That thing, because we use those Yeti buckets like it's our job out here.
Yep.
And that bucket caddy that you made, tell me about that, man.
Well, I mean, it's made for a waterfowler. I mean, a guy that's going to train his dogs. I mean, it holds a bunch of bumpers, stuff like that in it. I mean, and it's great for you know, sitting on the duck hunt. We've got, you know, put a bunch of shells. We designed the pockets just to fit several boxes of shells, and a big old thermos holder for your coffee. And I mean, it's been a huge hit. In fact, we're already out of them.
Good for you.
There's more coming. I just, you know, the dilemma of a new product is you don't really know how many to make. You don't ever know how many to make. So you swing for the fences and flop, and then you discounting them at the end of the year.
Right.
It's been a hot one though. This has been a real good one. So we got more coming, but they sold out.
Cool. That's awesome.
Dove hunters.
I was gonna say, I see the dove guys just going crazy about something like that, especially.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we use those Yeti buckets. I mean, 5-gallon buckets, but we use the Yeti buckets a lot too. And we strap them to our Everly stock pack frames, the F1 mainframe pack.
Okay.
And you can haul it in. Then it's more like, it's almost turns out like a trapper's basket. And you can put extra clothes in there and all. I mean, whatever you want. You can put birds in there at the end of the day. You haul that thing back in, and not only do you have your storage, but you've got a seat.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I think if you coupled that setup with that caddy that you guys designed, man, that'd be my go-to rig anytime I was going duck hunting where I'm not in a blind, you know.
Yeah.
Or maybe in an A-frame or something like that. But if I'm in, you know, a lot of what we do is, you know, little brush blinds or hunkered down and using natural cover in an area.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not in a really established blind sometimes, but no, that is cool. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, we use the Yeti buckets too. And I just thought, man, this would be cool if you had Yeti makes a wrap similar, but it's more for utility for screwdrivers and pliers and stuff like that. Even fishing equipment, fishing tools, crimps, and stuff like that. But we wanted to build one that was specific for hunting. And so just with the thought of a box of shells, your thermos, the kind of essentials that you want at your fingertips when you're sitting in an A-frame, or sitting in the brush on the edge of a slough or something like that, that was just had it all right there. Somewhere to put your empties, and you got your lunch and stuff in the bucket. And so just kind of turned a bucket into a blind bag. That was really kind of my thought process was, how do you turn a bucket into a blind bag?
Sure.
So that's kind of what we did.
Well, I think you hit a home run with it. Obviously, you don't have any more you're out and you're getting more. So, I think you've done well with that one. So, congratulations. That's a home run.
Well, thank you.
What do you have on the docket for this fall? What are you looking at for hunts?
So, well, I go to Canada, at least once or twice every year, and that's doesn't look to happen. I always go to Alberta and hunt with my buddy Rob Reynolds up there with Ranchland Outfitters. Of course, they're shut down. Was going to go to the Delta Marsh this year. So that literally today got the email that hunt has been postponed to whatever in 2021. So I'm just gonna hit the road and go stateside. I'm gonna hunt Oklahoma, Texas, which I've never hunted in either of those two states. I'm gonna come back through and to Missouri, just jump in the woods there with my Jeff Watt, good friend, sales rep. He's got some great flooded timber there in Missouri, and I don't know, probably go down to Arkansas and Louisiana, just hit the road. I told my wife, I was like, and she's like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Just hit the road for like 2 weeks, maybe 3.
Oh. That poor lady.
Time we met, this is the most we've ever been together in one period of time during this COVID thing, because she was in college in Florida and I was in North Carolina. We were commuting, and then it was, got married and had kids, and I had a job on the road. I was at highway crew doing big highway projects, and we just always had this like periods of together, and then I'm gone traveling, and with Riggum Right, I travel a lot for work and going overseas, but like this has been months and months and months together. It's like, honey, I think I'm gonna go hunting for a few weeks. This is like, absolutely sounds like a one less kid to pick up after.
There you go. Oh man, I love the fact you said 2 or 3 weeks. That it's like it's gonna be 2 or 3 months. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, my wife and I are getting ready to have our third child. We're having a little boy here any day.
Oh, wow.
Literally any day. And she's kind of in the same boat. Like, yeah, as long as you're there for a couple days and then go hunting, get out of that, get out of the house, get out of my hair, one of those things. But no, I hear you. Yeah. That COVID this year's just everybody I talk to is, Canada trips are squashed. Our turkey season got turned on its ear because nobody knew what was going on. We had plans in different states and nothing ended up working out, and that's fine. But I tell you what, if you find yourself needing a place to go in January or February, give me a call, man. Come on out to Wyoming. We'll put you on some birds.
That'd be awesome.
Yep. As long as you're out, the wife's kicked you out of the house and you're out running around.
Yeah.
Stop by.
I'm gonna make a couple. I'm gonna make a couple of runs. In fact, I'm probably in late September. I'm gonna do kind of a more northern route.
Okay.
Go Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the way to North Dakota. I hadn't hunted in North Dakota in years, so I'm gonna be up there and probably make a little 2-week run up through that part of the country, and then back in November, right before Thanksgiving, I'm gonna go 2 weeks to the Oklahoma, Texas, the kind of first run I was talking about. So
Cool.
that's kind of the plan right now.
Good for you. What do you guys have there locally, North Carolina? I mean, if you're on the coast, you probably got some decent sea duck hunting later in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Redheads, bluebills, really big in our county. In the big open marsh areas, and then inland, the rivers. That's what I was, a river rat growing up. I ran the Tar River and the Pamlico River and Roanoke River. That was kind of how I cut my teeth waterfowl hunting. And then hunting Lake Mattamuskeet area around, Hyde County. It's just, a little bit of everything there, from hunting, big open lake to salt marsh to, potholes, and then flooded, ag fields, impoundments and stuff. So that I'll do that some too, on the weekends when I'm here. I usually reserve my waterfowl hunt in North Carolina to, late December, January. I mean, that's when it's going to be the best. And just kind of now that I'm in the industry, I have so much opportunity in, September, October, November in places where it's a lot better. I don't have much desire to get in a duck blind in North Carolina in September. The mosquitoes will carry you away. And the fishing's too good to sit in a duck blind and shoot a few teal and get eaten by mosquitoes and bit by a snake, or run an alligator out of your blind. I mean, it's just too many critters that time of the year.
Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Yeah, we're looking at the end of October for us. We don't open anything up here till October 3rd. And honestly, I would be okay if our Game and Fish said, you know what, we're going to give you like the first 10 days of September to shoot some of those teal that we always get a cold snap at the end of August, first part of September, it seems like. And then it gets nice again. And it always pushes in birds, whether it's usually blue-winged teal.
Right.
And there's, like I said, there's not a lot of area, but there's enough marshy area that those areas and those rivers we do get pushes of birds. And most guys are hunting big game, but man, it would be so cool to have that, like the 1st through the 10th of September, and then shut us down until Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Because we just don't see a ton of birds. I mean, we get migrants and we get stuff like that, but the really good hunting for us is definitely November through February. Right. So I'm with you. I know what you mean. It's kind of like a lot of big game stuff, and us being affiliated with Eastman's, of course, being our parent company. That's big game central for us. I mean, that's where our focus is in our first part of the season.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I mean, I love deer hunting too. So.
Oh yeah, hunting in general. You know what I mean? Seems like everybody I talk to, if they, you make their spot, make their living in one space in the industry, but they love to hunt just about everything.
Right.
And that's where I'm at too. It's like, you have any big game plans then?
So one of the guys I'm gonna hunt with from Texas told me to bring the rifle when I come out. So probably hunt. I'm gonna try to get a whitetail in Texas, and then also in Oklahoma. So no firm plans, but I'm definitely taking the 270 mag.
There you go.
On my duck trip.
There you go. There you go. You were talking about the Duck Commander. I think one of my most vivid memories from the early days of those videos, I think it was Duckman 4, and he shoots that doe whitetail out of the duck blind running through the water and just cartwheels her.
I know. Awesome.
I bet I wore that VHS because I'm dating myself there, but I bet I wore that thing out, rewinding it and watching that over and over and over again.
Oh, absolutely. We had the whole series at our
Yeah, we did too.
I mean, just watch them on repeat. I think it was I can't remember, it was 2 or 3, was the one running gun.
Yeah.
That was a good one. It was a real,
Yeah.
very quotable.
Those videos were kind of like, it seemed to me like we look at where we are now with YouTube and you know what we do with YouTube and social media and all that stuff. And man, it seemed like those videos and some of the older stuff, some of, you know, Primos and those guys were just laying down stuff back then that was kind of, especially Duck Commander, man. I just think back on that. It's like we watched those videos all the time.
Absolutely.
And it seemed like it was like you'd get together with a group of guys, and if duck season was closed, that's what you were watching anyway. Was that stuff?
My little girl, I mean, I've got 2 little girls. My oldest daughter, she was saying, I want to watch Duck Commander. I want to watch Duck Commander. Watching Duck Commander videos.
I know it. Yeah, it was funny. I remember when Duck Dynasty came out, and it was like, have you seen these guys? Have you seen these guys? I'm like, man, I've been watching those guys for years. Way before they were famous, you know. Right. They were famous to me.
They were famous in the industry. I mean,
yes.
That first show we ever did where we took 100 packs of decoy anchors to Wisconsin to the DU Expo.
Yep.
That's where I first met those guys. There's a line a mile long to get, you know, an autograph from Phil Robertson. And I mean, he was a superstar in our industry for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
It was, you know, many years after that, before Duck Dynasty became a thing.
Right. So, no, absolutely. I think he signed a hat for me at that show that you're talking about. I don't remember what year it was, but it was he was famous. There's no such thing as Duck Dynasty. It was like the same time period you're talking about. And I still have that hat. You know, I've re-sharpied his signature so it's darker, you know.
Right.
But I've still got it. It's tucked away in a box of memorabilia, you know. But I wore that thing hunting for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But yeah, buddy, I mean, yeah, that's cool. So you met those guys at the DU show in Wisconsin then?
That's right. Yeah.
What year was that?
2007 maybe.
Okay.
2006, 2007, kind of around in there. Yeah, it was very interesting how that worked out. You know, it was awesome. And then I guess it was the next year I was headed somewhere and was going through Monroe, Louisiana, and stopped in and hung out and just sat right in, you know, Phil's living room and just had a conversation, drank coffee. I mean, he's just so full of wisdom, you know, and he just was giving me life wisdom and career wisdom, and it was incredible. And I tell people that, like, are you serious? You sat in his living room? I was like, yep, that same living room you see on Duck Dynasty.
Yeah,
it was awesome. And I mean, the whole crew down there, John Godwin, I mean, he was kind of the decoy guy for them and the equipment dude, and you know, he's a great friend. I mean, he is just one of the finest human beings that I've ever met in the industry. And anyway, they just were a lot of help. I can't thank those guys enough for what they did for me when we were just, you know, me and my wife slinging lead out of our garage. You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll bet those early years for you guys looked pretty interesting. You know, I remember I had Jim Longquest on 2 weeks ago now, and he was kind of telling some stories about when he first started.
Right.
Like an outfitting and him and his wife and trying to put it all together and make ends meet. And I'm, you know, everybody that's done what you've done and are doing has similar stories when it comes to that stuff, you know, because you don't just start with a big office and trucks and you started that. You built this thing with your, you know, probably out of a garage or something. I mean,
100%. I mean, up until we literally just hired a full-time warehouse manager. My wife did that. I mean, last year, my wife built every single shipment that went out the back door, rig 'em right. I mean, building pallets, running the forklift, loading trucks, unloading trucks. I mean, that's hard work. I mean, 50-pound boxes of lead all day. You know?
Oh, man.
And my daughters, we've spent Thanksgiving holiday fixing product that was faulty or relabeling something that was mislabeled, or, I mean, we got a shipment of goose flags that were, the handle wasn't even glued on.
Oh man.
Giant shipment heading to Bass Pro. It was like the first, big order we got for this new goose flag. And we spent, I guess it was Labor Day weekend, because it was about this time of the year. Me, my wife, and both daughters, little assembly line, one of them unpackaging, gluing, drying them, repackaging, all weekend to get 1,000 goose flags fixed. So
Wow.
it's definitely been a family experience. I mean, I've taken the kids to shows, and I mean, they can tell you about all the products, and they love to hunt, and so it's been, it's crazy. It's crazy, and you're right. You don't just start big. It takes a long time to get there, and a lot of hard work, and a lot of breaks too. We've had, the Lord's opened up a lot of doors for us that weren't like we weren't expecting. Usually you get a door slammed in your face, you're like, oh my gosh, it's the end of it, and then a better one opens. You're like, well, thank goodness.
Right.
Because we were about to walk through that door before it got closed. So it's been. I often tell people, I'm like, really, if I would have had a camera crew follow me around, we'd have made a whole lot more money from that. Brick 'em right.
Oh,
I mean, it's just been a forklift breakdown right when the truck pulls into the dock, loaded, and you're like, now what do we do? I mean, it's been crazy, and it's still that way. I mean, we do a good job. Even a well-oiled machine breaks down. Throw spare once in a while.
Oh man, that's, you said something about the Lord opening doors, and it's amazing in life, whether, if you're paying attention, what you just said is so true. I mean, it's like the right people come into your life at the right times and help you spawn success. I mean, I can't even imagine some of the conversations you and your wife have had, where you look back at things after a year, 6 months, and go, can you imagine if we'd have done that? Or can you imagine if it would, and it would have changed the trajectory of your company and your life? And yeah, that faith component to life is so huge, so important. And I think, that's one that I love. I love to hear you say that, because I think that's so huge. And you obviously had a connection there, probably with the Duck Commander too, on that level.
Absolutely.
I'm betting.
Yes.
That's a God thing, man. That doesn't just happen,
100%. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool. But oh goodness, what I'm sure you can't give away any secrets, but what are you working on for 2021? Just in a vague way, maybe.
Yeah, so we're let me some kind of, hey, a reminder just came up that I got a podcast.
Oh, that's handy.
What the heck? It's 45 minutes late.
That's handy.
Oh me. Anyway, so yeah, we're working on some blinds. We've got some new layout blinds we're working on. We got one that's probably going to roll out here kind of mid-season, that we've been working on. It's for a while now, for years. It's really cool. It's going to be a very, very, very cool concept. So we got that, and this, with rolling out a lot more products in the Optifade, in the Gore Optifade patterns.
Sure.
Some products are kind of new, some are staple waterfowl items that maybe aren't currently available in Optifade. So we're doing some of that, and yeah, that's it. We've found our niche in the accessory game. We feel like we make good stuff that for very waterfowl specific, very intentionally designed for whatever waterfowl application. And so we're doing on some of that, and then we're doing more stuff in Mossy Oak Bottomland, some kind of southern stuff. So, but mostly in the accessory stuff and in the blinds, but nothing ultra top secret that we can talk about right now.
Sure. Well, I'm excited to see your blind. That's one of those things that we put through the paces out here a lot. And we've been starting to make the switch to A-frames like a lot of guys have, the last couple of years. But we still have enough. The stuff we're hunting, we're still able to hide layouts pretty good, especially along edges. We've got a lot of stuff that we can hide. It seems like a lot of the ag ground we hunt has really brushy edges to it. Or not brushy's the wrong word, but we got a plant called kochia that's just, you could hide an army of dudes in layout blinds with that stuff. Yeah. And if you can get an edge along a ditch, everything's irrigated out here. And if you can grab an edge with a ditch with some kochia or some other kind of brush,
right,
you can hide layout blinds like crazy out here. Yeah. And corn stubble too. You're still able to hide it pretty good in corn stubble. So that'll be cool, man. That'll be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll be neat. So what? I just had a complete brain fart. But you guys coated your decoy anchor systems this year too.
Right. Yeah, that's the steel cable.
Right.
Coated steel cable. So it's a nice product. We've had people ask what's the deal with a 6 ounce weight and a 1.5 pound decoy. Do you need a steel cable? But the cable has less memory than monofilament. So right. For a guy that likes to time in a knot, like the longer ones and stuff, it's just provides that less memory than monofilament.
Do you hear guys when it comes to that coated steel cable? I like the toughness of it. I really do. I like being able to rig up my stuff at the beginning of the season and minimal maintenance. You're going every day or every other day and you're using stuff hard, putting it away. And waterfowling is hard on equipment.
Oh yeah.
It's just wears stuff out. And that coated steel cable seems to just day in and day out. I mean, yeah, the stuff's gonna happen.
Right.
But man, that thing seems really, really tough. But one of the questions that I've had guys ask is, do they ever have problems with ducks seeing it? And I know for a lot of guys, they're hunting in water that's murky. They can't see the bottom of it. So that's a non-issue. But for guys, a lot of what we hunt it's trout. It's a trout stream.
Right.
And so that water's clear. I've never personally had ducks react that I could tell negatively to decoy cords, visible decoy cords.
Right.
Have you ever heard that argument or come across that?
I guess what we hear most is people, say something about, our line is brown or black, and they ask about clear. Well, I don't like clear line. Because if you're clear line, if all the line is hidden under the water, okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if the black is fine too. The problem is if you go throw some decoys in, you got 30-inch lines and you throw them in 6 inches of water or a foot of water, and that line is sticking up out of the water, that clear looks terrible. I mean, it does not look natural. But the black line, it's just a twig.
Right.
A duck's not going to say, wait, what is that, black thing in front of that decoy?
Right.
He's just going to think it's a twig. But the clear with the sun hitting it and it's glowing, that's my thought. So.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like I said, everything we're hunting out here when it comes to floaters is if it is early season, the water's murky. They're not gonna see it. But yeah, the streams themselves, the rivers that we hunt, get pretty clear by January and February.
Right.
But they're rocky bottomed most of the time.
Yeah.
And so I don't think they can see that cord.
Yeah,
I don't think that they can see it.
Yeah, can they see through the water? Are they just looking at the surface of the water? I mean, are their eyes, you almost have to, if you're looking, you can look at the surface of the water and you can choose to kind of focus your eyes through the water. I don't know what they're looking at. If they're looking at the decoys and the bank and they're scoping out the whole area, I just can't imagine that a duck is trying to look under the decoy to see if they just.
Yeah,
if every thing is valid. I mean, it's a valid question.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think it makes a bit of difference, but I've had guys that I've hunted with be like, well, can't they see those black lines? And I'm like, if they can, the hundreds and hundreds of them that I've shot, they couldn't see them.
Yeah.
Or they didn't care. So, yeah, I don't know. But it's just a question I've had guys ask, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. Yeah. Yeah. So when you guys start shooting down there, how much of your stuff and you're hunting big water? I'm assuming that's like brackish water, half part salt.
Yeah, brackish or
straight up salt.
Yeah, I mean this so I live in the southern Outer Banks. So you've got the ocean, just the mainland. You got about half a mile, and then you're on a little strip of islands, and then on the other side of the islands is the ocean. So it's the barrier islands, North Carolina. And there's inlets all in between. So, but the area between the islands and the mainland is all salt marsh, and that water just flows. I mean, it's all tidal and everything. And you're, I mean, literally right at the ocean. It's salt water, and so you're shooting bluebills and redheads, and you get a few canvasbacks and stuff in the salt. But we shoot mallards and pintail and widgeon in the brackish water, a little further inland. Well, I mean, you'll shoot them in the salt water too. That's one thing about North Carolina. You don't ever know what you're going to get into when you go out. That's, we don't have the most ducks. You always have your days, but it's not like other places that I get to go to and hunt. But you just mix bag. I mean, it can be, black ducks to wood ducks to pintails to widgeon, teal, mallards in any given day. Gadwall, mix in a redhead or a bluebill. I mean, which is kind of cool, But so yeah, I mean, people hunt inland too, in ponds and stuff.
Sure.
Lakes, but kind of eastern North Carolina.
Well, and the reason I ask that is when I think of hunting where you are, I think of exactly what you just described. Those salt marshes, you're hunting salt water. Similar, I guess, to the Chesapeake Bay north of you. I mean, just historically, very, very impactful and important places for duck hunting. I mean, it's old, been around a long time, and I think that's one of the things that I love the most about waterfowling is you can do it just about anywhere.
Yeah,
it's insane. And you're hunting in North Carolina, and we're out here in Wyoming. Talk to guys, Ryan Bassham, talked to him a few weeks back, and he's talking about killing birds in Nevada, and New Mexico, and places that you'd think, wow, that's like arid desert. But they even have ducks that are very specific to them that you can't find any place else. Having the ability to go to any place in the country and hunt ducks, for the most part, is fascinating to me. And all the different ways of doing it.
Yeah, I hunted Nevada a few years ago, and it was just one of the coolest experiences. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, you're hunting basically snow melt that runs off the back, I guess, the Sierra Nevadas, and flowed out into the desert, but it pulls up and it's a giant marsh. But all the driving out there, I'm like, tumbleweed blowing by and dust winds or whatever the heck you call them, and I'm like, are we going duck hunting? Are we really going duck hunting? And sure enough, I mean, it was just incredible. It was so wild, but it was a neat experience. But you're right. I mean, it's like places you don't think would be great duck hunting. Florida, I mean, they smash them in Florida.
Right.
Yeah, people don't realize there's great duck hunting down there. So.
Yeah, I've got a buddy that kind of grew up down there in the Panhandle, and he said, man, looking back now, I wasted some awfully good duck hunting right there on the beach. He said, good grief. He said, I've gone back and done it since, but he said, man, we had ducks all over the place, and we weren't smart enough to think about it. He said at the time, but he said, he said goes back every year and does that with buddies down there. Right. And it's amazing. You go different places, but so what you know, some of the places you like to hunt. I mean, you obviously get to go around. Canada was big for you on your list, but I mean, what do you get excited about every fall coming up that you look at and go, I'm excited for that hunting in that place?
Yeah, shooting mallard ducks in a field it's my number one. That's my number one. I love timber hunting would be a close second, but I think growing up in North Carolina, I've never, ever in my life, still to this day, have never seen a duck land in a dry field in North Carolina. And we got corn for days, ag everywhere, big old lakes where they're roosting. I don't know why, but they won't hit a dry field. I mean, I'm not counting tame ducks at the golf course, that are
Sure.
I'm talking about migrating ducks. I do not know why. And I'd always seen those videos and heard about it and stuff, shooting them in a field. And of course, the first time I got to do it, it blew me away, and I still love it. I still love, especially in the snow, like late season, northern Alberta, in the snow, greenheads. Oh my gosh, that's my number one. Number two, close, would be shooting them in the timber. That's pretty cool too. And third would be shooting snow geese. I love snow goose hunting. Love it. They drive you crazy though.
There's a reason they call him the White Devil. Oh man.
But I do like snow goose hunting. I love it. Anyway.
No, that's so cool. Yeah, so I jumped the gun right there. That's usually a question that I save right for the very end of the podcast. And I ask, if you could only hunt one bird one way, what's it going to be? And you just answered it, mallards in a dry field. Yeah. But that's one more reason you need to swing out to Wyoming this year, because that's a lot of what we end up doing.
Yeah. Okay.
We hammer that. We're lucky, we hunt a lot of Montana and Wyoming, and we're close where we are. But yeah, I'm with you. That, man, there's something about a big spin of mallards, a big tornado of mallards, especially if you can get them where, I don't like shooting into those big groups, but I like watching them work. Right. And the best is when you're limited out, you've got little groups, whether it's 3s, 4s, or even 10s, dozens, maybe even 15s or 20s, and you're shooting into those, trying to pick out those greenheads, filling out, and then the big wad comes.
Yeah.
And you just lay there, or ideally you're picked up already. Right. And you're sitting at the trailer just watching the show. Oh, I'm with you, man. That sound, the sound of their wings tearing the air, the hens doing the feeding chuckle. I mean, just
I think this is going to be it. This is it. And they come in and pick back up again.
I know.
The next pass, and the poor guy that's got to call the shot, where especially you got like 8 guys in the field, where everybody can get a shot, is exciting. So
we filmed one for YouTube a couple years ago. I think it's called Ducknado or Duck Tornado, and that was exactly right. We've got 5,000-6,000 birds working this cornfield, and you're getting on the tail end of it, you're getting all these little groups, but they come line up on you, and the guy goes to call a shot, and they've side-slipped the spread. It's maddening, and they like, this is it. They center you up, and then at the last second, they veer off to one side, and there's only like 2 dudes can get any shooting. Right. So they swing, and 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 finally they do it right, and they're right in your lap, and you pop open and just bust them. And
right. Well, and you hunt like I do. You want to get the right shot. I mean, right. Yes, you can shoot birds, but I would rather take the chance on a flock of geese or ducks or whatever. Get out, you never even get a shot at them, than like take a crappy shot. Just be patient. Try to finish them right over the decoys, and if we don't get to do that, well, that's okay.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
For me, that's the whole point. Yeah, and I'm with you. For me, that's the point. I want to finish those birds as good as they're going to be able to do it. And there's situations too where finishing them is the best you're going to be able to do on them, maybe a low glide over your decoys, and that's as good as you're going to get.
Yeah, for sure.
And man, knowing how to tell the difference between this is as best we're going to get, or let them work, let them do their thing. It's the hunt in the river here for ducks that's the way it is. They're either just right in your decoys, don't even swing, maybe make one big loop and bam, they're landing in your decoys, or they're swinging through and gliding by, giving you a look, and they keep right on going.
Right.
And so some of those days are hard when you're kind of, I guess, trying to work birds that don't really want to be worked. They're trying to talk them into giving up, and that can be tough. But I'm with you. Let them. I don't know how many times it's been like, oh, one more, and there they go. It's like, oh, okay.
And then there's always the one buddy. Man, I knew we should have called it. That first time they came over left side.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Yeah, you screwed that up. And it's like, nah, there'll be more. Just be patient. Oh, goodness. That's good stuff. But so cornfield or field mallards in general. But yeah, no, I'm with you. That is definitely a passion of mine. I kind of grew up doing that, being able to hunt them in sloughs and different areas. But man, when we could find them in a grain field, I loved that. Yeah. I loved that.
Now, you talked about going to Montana. Do you, in Wyoming where you're at, do you have the kind of the skinny water mallards and stuff too? Do you have like hot springs in your area? Or?
We do. One of the places that we hunt a lot is south of us, and when it gets super cold, and I'm talking 20 below, 25 below, 30 below zero, if you're still going to hunt ducks, that's where you go. There's a spot down there that's a bunch of hot springs, and temps like that will push our birds out because it'll freeze up a lot of what they're on, and it'll push a lot of those birds out, but they don't go real far. They go down to this hot springs area, and that's where you got to go. And I've had some unbelievable days hunting those hot spring seeps, or hunting the river itself down in that area where the hot springs are. Those hot springs keep that river open a lot longer, a lot better than some of the others that are just free running.
Yeah.
It can be good. I mean, you can get down there and, oh man, you're setting up in the dark and you can't even hear your buddy talking to you because there's so many birds talking and flying around. And I had a couple of years ago, I went down there, it got real cold, and all you talk about being at shows, all the guys here in the office were at SHOT Show. And they left me behind, and I was like, that's fine, I'll go hunting. But I think it was either SHOT or it might have been ATA. It was one of those two, it doesn't matter. But I went down, it was the end of goose season. Duck was closed for us. And I got down there and I was using my drift boat to float down the river to a spot I could set up on in the dark. And I floated into this flock of golden eyes, common golden eyes, that I don't know how many hundred birds were in it. But they kept pushing down. They finally got to a spot and they turned and they flushed upstream against the current. And they flew right into my boat. And I'm filming it with my phone, and they're bouncing off me, hitting my dog, hitting the boat. At one point, I had 6 common golden eyes flopping around in my drift boat.
Good gracious.
And my dog's like catching them. I'm like, no, duck season's closed. You gotta leave him be, bud. And he's a pretty good boy, and he didn't hurt him, but I'm picking him up and I'm throwing him back in the river, and oh my gosh. But that's an example of, you go down there when it gets super cold, because everything else is, we got some spring fed ditches and stuff here that have some hot spring activity that'll stay open. And when it gets that cold, I'm usually looking for one of those field hunts. Those birds want to hit that grain in the middle of the day, and when at the warmest part of the day, and you can have some amazing shoots.
You ever do the feed lot thing?
We've
popular there?
a couple of spots. You can get into some feedlots, and there again, when it gets really cold or the snow gets real deep, where they can't get out in a cornfield or whatnot, they'll hit those feedlots. And that's a total crapshoot because you'll either get a yes or a no. You know, there's either yeah, you can shoot around those cows, not going to bother them, or no, you're not shooting around my cows.
Right.
And when you can hit it right, yeah, it can be full, just lights out.
Yeah, I did that a few years ago in Montana for the first time, and we did good. We pounded them. We just set up on a little. The snow was deep, real deep when we were out there. We just set up on a little hill just right outside the feedlot, and those birds were going into the feedlot, and then, but they would always come out and kind of circle around, see what we were all about, and we did really good. But the dog didn't like it very much because a lot of those ducks are covered in poop. It was hard. He was like, spit this duck out.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty nasty.
And we realized, we're like, oh my gosh, no, don't pick it up. Poor thing.
Let's go put that dog back in the truck. Oh man. Yeah, we had that same thing happen last year at the end of our goose season. We got a bunch of snow, and it was the point where I saw birds landing out in the sagebrush because it was like a sagebrush hill that was blown free of snow, and they could just sit out there and they didn't have to sit. The snow was literally like 2.5, 3 feet deep. And you could not get rigs into fields. You weren't hunting. And the only place to hunt those birds was in those feedlots because that's where they wanted to be. Anywhere there was cows, there was geese and ducks.
Right.
And it can be really good when it's like that. It can be really good. But yeah, it seems like for every one that I get permission to hunt, I get 4 or 5 others that are like, nope, not hunting around my cows.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
Yeah, I get it too, but I still ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still ask. My philosophy is, what's the worst they're going to say? No?
That's right.
Well, I've been told no my whole life, so I'm a big boy. We can deal with that.
That's right.
Oh, goodness. Well, yeah, the offer stands, man. If you get out this way or decide you want to make a trip, come on out. Bring some of those new layout blinds and let's do something.
Okay. Do some more testing.
All right. I love it. Mathew, it's been great having you on. It's been a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, and I hope that we can get some blind time together one of these days. It'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
And have a great fall. Good luck, and stay healthy.
Well, cool. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for being on. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.